Commander Jake Sullivan was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency alarm screamed through his ship. He dropped the cup and ran to the bridge of his warship. The red lights were flashing everywhere. His communications officer turned to him with a scared face. "Sir, we have an urgent message from New Haven Colony. It's bad news." Jake felt his stomach drop. New Haven was a peaceful farming planet with families and children. Nothing bad ever happened there. "Put it through," he said. The screen flickered and showed Lisa Torres, the colony's security chief. Her face was dirty and she had blood on her forehead. Behind her, Jake could see smoke rising from buildings. "Commander Sullivan, we need help right now," Lisa said. Her voice was shaking. "They took our children. 17 kids are gone." Jake's blood went cold. In all his years fighting space pirates and defending human colonies, nothing scared him more than hearing about missing children. "Who took them? Where are they?" Lisa wiped her face with her sleeve. "We don't know who they were. 3 ships came out of nowhere during the school field trip to the northern mountains. The ships were strange, like they were made of crystal or glass. They fired some kind of weapon that knocked out all the adults instantly. When we woke up, the children were gone." Jake's hands turned into fists. "How long ago?" 2 hours. "We tried to follow them, but our ships are too slow. They jumped into hyperspace and disappeared. We couldn't track them. Send me everything you have. Ship designs, energy readings, anything," Jake ordered. He turned to his crew. "Get me Admiral Morrison on the line, now." While his team worked, Jake thought about the 17 missing children. He knew some of their names from the colony reports. Alex Carter was 16 and wanted to be a pilot like Jake. Maya Rodriguez was 14 and loved to fix machines. There were younger ones too, some only 8 years old. Far away in deep space, those same children were waking up in a place that looked like the inside of a diamond. The walls were clear crystal, and everything glowed with blue light. Alex Carter was the first to sit up. His head hurt and he felt dizzy. "Maya, are you okay?" he called out to his friend. Maya Rodriguez rolled over and groaned. "I think so. Where are we?" Around them, the other 15 children were slowly waking up. Some of the younger ones started to cry. The twins, Casey and Jordan Blake, who were only 10 years old, held hands and looked around with wide eyes. "I don't think we're on New Haven anymore," said Sam Chen. He was 12 but already smarter with computers than most adults. He was studying the glowing walls with curiosity instead of fear. Alex stood up carefully. He was the oldest, so the other kids looked to him for answers. "Listen, everyone, I know this is scary, but we need to stay calm. We need to figure out where we are and how to get home." "Are we on a spaceship?" asked little Zoe Davis. She was only 11, but she was brave. "I think so," Maya said. She was already examining the walls, trying to understand how they were made. "These walls aren't like anything I've ever seen. The technology is way ahead of ours." Outside their crystal prison, alien creatures were watching them. Captain Vexthera of the Zephyrian Empire stood 8 feet tall with blue skin and 4 arms. Her species had ruled their part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They were proud warriors who thought they were better than everyone else. "Mew, specimens are awake," reported her science officer, Krindal. He had the same blue skin but was thinner and had large black eyes. "They appear to be young mammals from the primitive human species." Vexthera looked at the children through the crystal walls. They seemed calm for creatures taken from their home world. Most species panic and scream at this stage. "Perhaps their young are naturally stupid," Krindal suggested. "It would make our research easier if they don't understand their situation." But the Zephyrians were wrong. The human children understood exactly what had happened to them. Alex had gathered all 17 kids in a circle. Even though some were still scared, they were listening to him. "Okay, here's what we know," Alex said quietly. "We were taken by aliens. We're probably on their ship somewhere in space. Our families and Commander Sullivan will be looking for us, but it might take time for them to find us." "So what do we do until then?" asked Emma Park. She was 15 and usually quiet, but now she looked determined. "We survive," Maya said, "and we learn everything we can about this place. If we get a chance to escape, we need to be ready." Sam Chen was already studying the crystal walls more closely. These walls aren't just pretty. I think there's some kind of computer interface. See how they change color when I touch them? The younger children watched as Sam pressed his hand against the wall. The blue glow changed to green, then back to blue. Can you talk to it? Asked Ryan Walsh. He was 13 and always asked good questions. Maybe. But I need to understand how it works first. Back on New Haven, Commander Sullivan was talking to Admiral Kate Morrison on his ship's main screen. Morrison was the head of all human military forces, and she looked angry. 17 children, she said. Her voice was cold as ice. Someone took 17 of our children. Yes, ma'am. We're tracking the energy signature of the alien ships, but they have a head start. I'm sending you every available ship in the sector. Captain Danny Walsh on the Relentless will lead the search fleet. You'll have 12 heavy cruisers and 30 destroyers within 6 hours. Jake felt better knowing that much firepower was coming to help, but he was still worried. Space was huge and the aliens could be anywhere by now. What do we know about these crystal ships? Morrison asked. Nothing, ma'am. They're not in any of our databases. The energy signature is completely unknown. But our scientists are working on it. Morrison nodded. Jake, I want you to understand something. When word gets out that aliens kidnapped human children, every human in the galaxy is going to want their heads. We need to find those kids before this turns into something bigger. Understood, Admiral. After the call ended, Jake stood looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 17 children were depending on him. He thought about Alex Carter, who reminded him of himself at that age. He thought about little Zoe Davis, who was barely older than his own niece. On the alien ship, the children had spent hours learning about their prison. Maya had figured out that the crystal walls were incredibly strong, but had tiny gaps where different sections joined together. Casey and Jordan Blake had discovered that the aliens came to check on them every few hours, always the same 2 guards. They think we're just scared animals, Alex told the group. That's good. It means they're not watching us as carefully as they should. What's the plan? Asked Emma. Alex looked around at the 16 other faces staring at him. Some were older, kids like Maya and Emma. Some were younger like the twins and Zoe, but all of them were looking at him to lead them home. We learn everything we can. We work together. And when the time comes, we show these aliens what happens when you mess with human children. What the children didn't know was that their kidnapping was already causing panic across the galaxy. Other alien species who had dealt with humans before were trying to warn the Zephyrians about the terrible mistake they had made. But Captain Vexithara and her crew didn't listen to warnings. They thought humans were just another weak species, to be studied and controlled. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The news spread through human space faster than wildfire. On every human world, in every space station, on every ship, people heard the same terrible words. Aliens had kidnapped 17 human children. Admiral Kate Morrison stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at computer screens. The room buzzed with activity as every available ship was called back from patrol duty. Ma'am, we have 43 ships ready to launch, reported. Her aide, Lieutenant Ben Foster. Captain Danny Walsh is loading supplies on the Relentless right now. Morrison nodded, but her face stayed hard. She had been a soldier for 30 years. She had fought pirates, stopped wars, and protected human colonies across the galaxy. But nothing had ever made her this angry. Send a message to every human captain in space, she ordered. If they see those crystal ships, they are to report their location immediately. No one is to engage alone. We do this together. On the heavy cruiser Relentless, Captain Danny Walsh was checking his ship's weapons for the 3rd time. His crew had never seen him so focused. Walsh was known as a calm, friendly captain who liked to joke with his crew. Today, no one was laughing. Captain, we have the hyperspace trail, called out his navigator, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. It's faint, but we can follow it. How faint? Walsh asked. We'll lose it completely in about 12 hours. After that, they could be anywhere in the galaxy. Walsh's jaw tightened. Then we better hurry. Meanwhile, deep in space near the Void Nebula, the Zephyrian research station Shard of Eternity hung in the darkness like a giant crystal flower. The station was the pride of Zephyrian science, where they studied captured creatures from across the galaxy. Chief Researcher Thalmor walked down the corridor toward the new specimens. He was excited to begin his work. In his long career, he had studied hundreds of different species. Humans were new to the galaxy, and he wanted to understand how their primitive minds worked. "The subjects appear healthy," reported his assistant as they approached the holding area, "but their behavior is unusual." "Unusual how?" Thalmor asked. "See for yourself." When Thalmor looked through the crystal walls, he stopped in surprise. The 17 human children were not crying or huddled in corners like most captured beings. Instead, they were organized. Some were examining the walls and floor. Others were watching the guards and taking notes on pieces of cloth torn from their clothes. The oldest male, Alex Carter, was clearly their leader. He was talking quietly to the others, pointing at different parts of their prison. The older female, Maya Rodriguez, was studying the crystal walls with intense focus. "What are they doing?" Thalmor wondered out loud. "We're not sure. They've been like this for hours. They work in small groups, then come together to share information. It's almost like what? Like they're planning something." Thalmor laughed. "They're children. What could they possibly plan?" But inside the crystal prison, the human children were indeed planning. Alex had divided them into teams. Maya's team studied the walls and technology. Sam Chen's team watched the guards and learned their routines. The twins Casey and Jordan Blake led a team that explored every inch of their cell. "The guards change every 4 hours," reported Jordan quietly. "They always bring food at the same time. There are always exactly 2 of them. The walls are strong, but they're not solid," Maya added. "There are connection points where different pieces join together. If we could weaken those points, and I think I'm starting to understand their computer system," Sam said. His 12-year-old mind was working faster than most adult engineers. "These walls aren't just walls. They're like one giant computer screen. Everything connects to everything else." Alex listened to each report. Even though he was scared, he felt proud of how well everyone was working together. The younger kids like Zoe Davis and Ryan Walsh were being just as brave and smart as the older ones. "Good work, everyone," Alex said. "Keep learning. Our families are coming for us, but we need to be ready to help ourselves too." Far away, the human rescue fleet was growing larger by the hour. Ships came from every direction: military vessels, merchant ships, even private yachts owned by families who wanted to help find the missing children. Captain Walsh stood on the bridge of the Relentless, watching the fleet assemble around his ship. He had never commanded so many vessels at once. Behind him, Lieutenant Ben Foster was working with the ship's computer systems, trying to track the alien trail. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Foster called out. "The hyperspace trail is leading toward the Void Nebula, but there's something else. I'm detecting communication signals." "What kind of signals?" "They're not human, but they're not from the kidnappers either. It looks like other alien species are sending messages about us." Walsh frowned. "Put it through the translator." The ship's computer worked for a moment, then alien voices filled the bridge. The translation was rough, but they could understand the basic meaning. "The humans are mobilizing their fleet." "How many ships?" "Reports say over 100 vessels and more coming." "For just 17 younglings?" "You don't understand. These are human younglings. The humans will not stop until they get them back. Surely they will negotiate." "Humans don't negotiate when their young are threatened. They fight." Walsh and his crew listened in amazement. Other alien species across the galaxy were talking about them, and they sounded scared. "Captain," Foster said quietly, "I don't think we're the only ones looking for those kids. It sounds like half the galaxy is watching to see what we do." Back on the research station, more alien scientists had come to study the human children. They stood outside the crystal prison, taking notes and discussing what they saw. "Remarkable," said Dr. Zentar, an expert in primitive behavior. "Most species become depressed and inactive when captured. These humans are more active now than when we first took them." "Look at how they share information," added another scientist. "Even their youngest members contribute to the group's knowledge." Thalmor, was becoming frustrated. Nothing about these humans matched what he expected. They were supposed to be simple, emotional creatures. Instead, they were showing intelligence and cooperation that impressed even him. Perhaps we should begin the experiments, he suggested. Take one of them for individual study. Which one? Asked his assistant. Thalmor studied the children. The small one, the female with dark hair. She appears to be less important to the group. He was pointing at Zoe Davis, the 11-year-old girl who had been quietly studying the aliens just as much as they were studying her. But when the guards entered the crystal prison to take Zoe, they got their first real surprise. The human children didn't panic or scatter. Instead, they moved together like they had practiced this moment. Alex and Maya stepped in front of Zoe while the other children formed a protective circle around her. "You're not taking any of us," Alex said clearly, looking straight at the alien guards. The guards were confused. Their weapons could easily stun all the children, but they had never seen such organized resistance from young captives. "Stand aside, primitive," one guard ordered. "We require only one specimen." "No," Maya said, moving to stand next to Alex. "We stay together." Soon all 17 children were standing together, facing the armed aliens. Even the youngest ones, like the Blake twins, showed no fear. The guards looked at each other uncertainly. They had expected crying and begging, not defiance. Outside the cell, Thalmor watched in amazement. These weren't primitive young mammals. They were something else entirely. "Sir," his assistant whispered, "maybe we should contact High Command, ask for instructions." But before Thalmor could respond, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed as an announcement echoed through the corridors. "All personnel to battle stations. Unknown fleet approaching. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Through the crystal walls, Alex Carter smiled at the confused aliens. "Told you our families were coming," he said. The human rescue fleet had found them, and they were not coming to negotiate. The Galactic Cooperative Council building was the largest structure in known space. Representatives from over 300 alien species worked there to keep peace between the stars. Today, emergency lights flashed throughout the massive halls as delegates rushed to an urgent meeting. Ambassador Quiltar of the Mantis Consortium clicked his sharp claws nervously as he entered the main chamber. His insect-like body moved quickly across the floor. Behind him came dozens of other alien representatives, all talking in worried voices. At the center of the Great Hall, a holographic display showed the current situation. Red dots marked the location of human ships moving toward the Void Nebula. There were now over 200 vessels in the rescue fleet, and more were joining every hour. "The session will come to order," announced the council speaker, a floating energy being called Prime Light. "We are here to discuss the Zephyrian incident involving human offspring." General Krondar of the Zephyrian Empire stood at his delegation's platform. He was massive even for his species, with thick blue skin and battle scars covering his forearms. "The Zephyrian Empire does not recognize this council's authority over our research operations. We have taken specimens from a primitive species for scientific study. This is our right." A wave of shocked voices filled the chamber. Ambassador Quiltar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his people. "Primitive?" Quiltar's voice was sharp. "General, do you know anything about humans?" "They are a young species recently discovered. They have no significant military power or technology. Their world only joined Galactic Society 5 years ago." "Then you know nothing," said War Chief Sethkar of the Scaled Dominion. The giant reptile's yellow eyes gleamed as he spoke. "I have fought humans. They are not what they appear to be." The holographic display changed to show footage from a battle. Human ships, much smaller than their enemies, fought against overwhelming odds. But they never retreated, never surrendered. One human vessel continued fighting even after half its hull was destroyed. "This was the Battle of Kepler Station," Sethkar explained. "Pirates attacked a human trade route. The humans had 3 ships. The pirates had 20. The battle should have lasted minutes." "How long did it actually last?" asked another delegate. 18 hours. The humans fought until every pirate ship was destroyed or had fled. And do you know why they fought so hard? General Krondar remained. silent, but his confident expression was starting to change, because one of the pirate shots had accidentally hit a civilian transport carrying human families. The moment those humans saw their civilians in danger, they transformed into something I had never seen before. They called it going berserk. Ambassador Hive Mind 7 of the collective spoke next. This species was made up of thousands of small, insect-like creatures that shared one mind. When they spoke, it was with thousands of voices at once. We have studied human behavior extensively, the voices said together. They are unique among known species. Most creatures will sacrifice the few to save the many. Humans do the opposite. They will sacrifice everything to save even one of their own. That is illogical, General Krondar protested. No species can survive with such thinking. Yet they do more than survive, said Harmony of Lights, speaker for the peaceful crystalline hierarchy. They prosper, and when you threaten what they protect most, they become unstoppable. The display changed again. This time it showed the asteroid belt campaign, where human miners had held off a massive pirate fleet using nothing but mining equipment and cargo haulers. The pirates wanted to raid a single transport ship, Harmony of Lights explained. It carried human families moving to a new colony. The miners had no military training, no weapons designed for combat, but they fought for 6 days to protect those families. What happened to the pirates? Asked a small furry delegate from the Traders Union. They fled. An entire pirate coalition defeated by civilian miners because the humans simply would not stop fighting. More examples followed. The defense of New Tokyo, where human colonists fought off 3 different enemy fleets in 1 month. The rescue at Titan Base, where human soldiers walked through enemy fire for 12 hours to save a single wounded comrade. The liberation of Vega Prime, where humans spent 2 years fighting to free slaves they had never met. Each time, Quiltar explained, the enemy made the same mistake the Zephyrians are making now. They thought humans were weak because they seemed peaceful. They thought humans could be bullied because they tried to avoid war. But humans only seem peaceful when no one threatens what they care about, added Sethkar. The moment you cross that line, you're not dealing with the same species anymore. General Krondar was looking less confident with each story. These are exaggerations. No species fights like this over a few individuals. A few individuals? Harmony of Lights asked quietly. General, you didn't take a few individuals. You took human children. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the constant background hum of the translation system seemed to pause. In all our studies of humans, Hive Mind 7 said, we have learned one absolute truth. There is nothing in the universe more dangerous than a human whose children are threatened. Nothing. The display showed a new image. The current human fleet approaching Zephyrian space. The number of ships was still growing. 237 vessels and counting, reported the Council's military advisor, a cyborg called Iron Mind Omega. Every type of ship in the human inventory. Military cruisers, cargo haulers converted to warships, civilian vessels carrying volunteers. They're not just sending their military, they're sending everyone. For 17 children? General Krondar asked. For 17 children, Quiltar confirmed. General, I have seen humans fight over a single child. I have watched them declare war because someone threatened their young. What do you think they'll do for 17? The Zephyrian general was quiet for a long moment. Around the chamber, other delegates watched him carefully. Many species had made the mistake of underestimating humans. Those who survived learned quickly. They are just one species among hundreds, Krondar said finally, but his voice was less certain than before. One species that has never lost a war, Sethkar pointed out. One species that has never retreated when their people were in danger. One species that turns their entire civilization into a weapon when their children are threatened. Ambassador Quiltar stepped forward. General, I'm going to tell you something that might save your empire. 3 years ago, my people accidentally damaged a human school during a border dispute. It was an accident. Our weapons malfunctioned. During a test firing. No children were hurt, just some broken windows. What happened? Within 6 hours, Every human military vessel in 3 sectors was moving toward our territory. Their diplomats stopped talking to us, their traders stopped selling to us. Their entire species focused on us like we were a deadly threat. But no one was hurt, Krondar protested. It didn't matter. We had threatened their children, even by accident. They were ready for war. How was it resolved? We paid for a new school. We sent doctors to check every child for possible injuries. We signed treaties promising never to test weapons near human colonies again. And we publicly apologized to every human family on that planet. Quiltar's claws clicked against the floor. Even then, it took months before they trusted us again. And that was for broken windows, General. You actually took their children. The chamber's main display suddenly changed. A new signal was coming through. A message from the approaching human fleet. Admiral Kate Morrison's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but her eyes were hard as steel. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship buzzed with activity. This message is for the Zephyrian High Command, she said clearly. You have taken 17 human children from the colony of New Haven. You have exactly 24 hours to return them safely to their families. She paused, and her expression grew even harder. If you harm even one of those children, if you frighten them, if you make them cry, there will be consequences. We are not coming to negotiate. We are not coming to discuss terms. We are coming to bring our children home. The message ended, leaving the council chamber in complete silence. General Krondar stood frozen at his platform. Around him, delegates from across the galaxy watched and waited. General, Quiltar said quietly, you have 24 hours to prevent a war that will end your empire. What are you going to do? But before Krondar could answer, another alarm rang through the chamber. A new message was coming through from the Zephyrian research station. The voice of Chief Researcher Thalmor crackled through the speakers, and he sounded terrified. High Command, we have a problem. The human specimens, they're not specimens anymore. They've taken control of our security systems. They've organized the other captive species. And sir, I think they're planning to escape. The last thing anyone heard before the transmission cut out was the sound of alarms ringing throughout the research station. General Krondar finally understood what everyone had been trying to tell him. The humans weren't coming just to rescue their children. Their children were rescuing themselves. 3 days had passed since the human children were brought to the Zephyrian research station. During those 3 days, 12-year-old Sam Chen had been watching and learning. Every time the guards came to check on them, every time the scientists studied them through the crystal walls, Sam was studying back. He had figured out something important. The crystal walls weren't just prison cells. They were part of one giant computer system that controlled everything on the station. The lights, the doors, the air, the gravity, it all connected through the same crystal network. I think I can do it, Sam whispered to Alex Carter during their rest time. I think I can get into their computer system. Alex looked at his young friend with amazement. Are you serious? The crystals respond to touch and electrical signals. Our bodies make small amounts of electricity. If I can create the right pattern. Maya Rodriguez crawled over to join them. What do you need? Sam pointed to a section of wall where several crystal pieces joined together. I need everyone to touch the walls at the same time in different places. It should create a feedback loop in their system. What's a feedback loop? Asked 10-year-old Casey Blake. It's like when you put a microphone too close to a speaker and it makes that loud noise, Sam explained. But instead of sound, we'll be making their computer confused. Alex gathered all 17 children together. Listen carefully. Sam has a plan to get us out of here, but we all have to work together. He looked around at their faces. Some were scared, but all of them were determined. Even little Zoe Davis, who was only 11, nodded bravely. Maya's team will handle the diversion, Alex continued. When the guards come for their next check, you start making noise and acting upset. That will draw their attention. Maya nodded. Emma, Ryan, you're with me. We make them think we're panicking. Casey and Jordan, your job is to watch for more guards coming. If you see anyone, you whistle like a bird. Can you do that? The twins nodded together. They had been practicing their bird calls for days. Everyone else, when Sam gives the signal, you touch the walls exactly where he shows you. Don't let go until he says stop. An hour later, the guards came for their regular check. There were 2 of them, just like always. They were tall blue aliens with 4 arms and black eyes. They thought the human children were simple creatures who just sat around feeling sorry for themselves. They were wrong. As soon as the guards entered the crystal prison, Maya's team sprang into action. Emma Park started crying loudly. Ryan Walsh began shouting about wanting to go home. Maya herself sat in a corner, holding her head like she had a terrible headache. "What's wrong with them?" one guard asked the other. "Perhaps they are finally understanding their situation," the second guard replied. "The young ones usually break down after a few days." While the guards focused on the crying children, Sam Chen moved quietly to his position at the crystal wall. Around the room, the other children moved to their assigned spots. "Now," Sam whispered. 14 children placed their hands on the crystal walls at exactly the same moment. Sam pressed both palms against the junction point where multiple crystal sections met. He closed his eyes and concentrated. At first, nothing happened. Then the blue glow in the walls began to flicker. The flickering got faster and faster until the entire room was strobing with light. "What is happening?" the first guard shouted. The answer came as alarms began ringing throughout the station. The crystal walls sparked with electricity. Emergency lights flashed in the corridors outside their prison. "The security system is failing," the second guard said, speaking into his communication device. "Send technical teams immediately." But the technical teams had their own problems. All over the station, computer systems were shutting down and restarting. Doors were opening and closing randomly. The gravity fluctuated, making everyone feel dizzy. In the research station's control room, Chief Researcher Thalmor stared at his screens in panic. Red warning lights covered every display. "What's causing this?" he demanded. "We don't know, sir," his assistant replied. "The system failures started in Sector 7. That's where we keep the human specimens." "Sir, that's impossible. They're just primitive younglings. They couldn't possibly." "Get me a visual on their cell immediately." When the screen showed the human children's prison, Thalmor saw something that made his blood run cold. The 2 guards were lying unconscious on the floor. The crystal walls were dark, and the 17 human children were gone. "Find them!" Thalmor screamed. "Search every level of the station." But the children were already 3 levels away, moving through the station's maintenance tunnels. Alex Carter led the way, following the map that Casey and Jordan Blake had memorized during their exercise periods. Behind him, Maya Rodriguez helped carry little Zoe Davis, who was having trouble keeping up. Sam Chen brought up the rear, still working on the alien computer system using a small device he had built from pieces of their prison. "How did you know about these tunnels?" Maya asked the twins. "We asked to use the bathroom a lot," Jordan whispered back. "Every time they took us out, we looked around and remembered everything. The guards thought we were just scared kids who drank too much water," Casey added with a grin. They crawled through the narrow tunnels for what felt like hours. Finally, Alex held up his hand for everyone to stop. "We're here," he said quietly. "The other prisoners should be just below us." For the past 3 days, the children had learned about the other creatures being held on the research station. There were peaceful, plant-like beings from the garden worlds, small, furry creatures from the Trader Union, even some of the crystal-like hierarchy beings who normally lived in harmony with everyone. "They don't deserve to be here any more than we do," Alex had told the group. "If we're escaping, we're taking everyone with us." Sam had already hacked into the security system for this section. With a few quick touches on his makeshift device, the locks on all the prison cells clicked open. The rescued aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. 17 human children, the youngest barely 8 years old, had somehow broken out of the most secure research station in Zephyrian space and come to rescue them. "How is this possible?" Anne asked one of the plant beings, speaking through a translation device. "We're human," said Emma Park simply, as if that explained everything. And somehow it did. The group of escapees grew to over 40 individuals representing 12 different species. Alex organized them just like he had organized the human children. The strong ones helped the weak ones. The fast ones scouted ahead. Everyone had a job to do. Where are we going? Asked one of the furry trader union prisoners. The docking bay, Alex replied. We're stealing a ship. Maya looked at him with surprise. Do you know how to fly a spaceship? No, Alex admitted. But Sam says he can figure out the computer systems. And how hard can it be? They made their way through the station like a small army of refugees. Every time they encountered guards, the aliens who could fight protected those who couldn't. The humans, despite being children, showed leadership and courage that amazed their fellow prisoners. When they finally reached the docking bay, they found 3 small Zephyrian scout ships. Sam immediately went to work on the computer systems, while the others stood guard. I can get one of these ships working, Sam announced after several minutes. But we need to hurry. The whole station knows we're missing now. As if to prove his point, the sound of running feet echoed through the corridors behind them. Zephyrian soldiers were getting closer. Everyone on board, Alex ordered. We're leaving now. As the 43 escaped prisoners crowded into the small scout ship, young Sam Chen made one final adjustment to the station's computer systems. He had saved the best trick for last. With a smile that would have frightened the Zephyrian scientists, Sam uploaded a virus into their entire network. Within minutes, every computer on the research station would shut down completely. That's for kidnapping us, he said quietly. The scout ship launched just as the first Zephyrian soldiers reached the docking bay. But they were too late. The ship was already accelerating toward the edge of the system. On the bridge of the stolen vessel, Alex Carter opened communication channels on all frequencies. He had a message to send. This is Alex Carter calling the human rescue fleet. We are 43 escaped prisoners from the Zephyrian research station. All human children are safe and accounted for. We're coming home. The response came immediately, from Admiral Morrison herself. Alex, this is Admiral Morrison. Are you hurt? Are the other children safe? We're all fine, ma'am. And we have proof of everything the Zephyrians were doing here. They weren't just studying us. They were torturing innocent beings from across the galaxy. There was a long pause before Morrison replied, Understood, Alex. We're very proud of you. All of you. Now get clear of that station. We're coming in to finish this. As their stolen ship raced toward the safety of the human fleet, the children looked back at the research station through the viewports. The massive structure was dark now, its computers dead, its security systems failed. Think they've learned their lesson? Maya asked. Alex smiled. If they haven't yet, they're about to. In the distance, over 200 human ships were moving. Toward the station like an unstoppable storm, the rescue was over. Now came the reckoning. The human fleet arrived like thunder in the darkness. 237 ships dropped out of hyperspace all at once, surrounding the Zephyrian research station in a perfect sphere of firepower. The massive dreadnought Fury of Earth led the formation, its weapons pointed directly at the station's command center. Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the tactical display. She had been preparing for the worst, a desperate battle to rescue 17 children from an enemy fortress. Instead, she found something that made her proud and amazed at the same time. Admiral, we're receiving a signal from the station, reported her communications officer. It's coming from the children, ma'am. Put it through. Alex Carter's young face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Morrison could see all 16 other human children, along with dozens of alien beings she didn't recognize. Admiral Morrison, this is Alex Carter reporting. All human personnel are safe and accounted for. We have also liberated 43 other prisoners from various species. The research station's computer systems are offline, and their security forces are neutralized. Morrison stared at the screen for a long moment. Alex, did you just tell me that you children took over an entire alien research station? Yes, ma'am. Sam figured out their computer systems. Maya found the weak points in their structure. The twins mapped all the escape routes. Everyone did their part. Behind Alex, 12-year-old Sam Chen held up a small device made from crystal fragments. I also downloaded their entire database, Admiral. You're going to want to see what they were doing here. My God, Morrison whispered. She had been ready for war, but the children had already won. On the research station, Chief Researcher Thalmor sat in his darkened command center, surrounded by dead computer screens. Everything had gone wrong so quickly. The human children had not only escaped, but had shut down his entire facility and freed every prisoner in the station. Sir, his assistant said nervously, the human fleet is demanding our surrender. Thalmor looked out the window at the wall of human ships surrounding them. He finally understood what all those warnings had meant. These weren't primitive creatures. They were something far more dangerous. Open communications with the human fleet, he ordered. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on his screen, and her expression was cold as ice. This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have committed acts of war against humanity by kidnapping our children. You will surrender immediately and face judgment for your crimes. Admiral, we wish to negotiate, Thalmor said desperately. The time for negotiation ended when you took our children, Morrison replied. However, I'm feeling generous today. Do you know why? Thalmor shook his head. Because our children are safe. Because they rescued themselves and every other innocent being you were torturing. Because they showed the galaxy what humanity really stands for. Morrison leaned forward. But make no mistake, researcher. This station will be shut down. Your illegal experiments will end, and you will face trial for your crimes against every species you've harmed. As if summoned by her words, new ships began arriving in the system. First came the vessels of the Galactic Cooperative Council, led by Ambassador Quiltar. Then ships from the Mantis Consortium, the Scaled Dominion, and dozens of other species. Admiral Morrison, came Quiltar's voice over the communications channel. The Galactic Council stands with humanity in this matter. The Zephyrian research program violates every treaty we have signed. War Chief Sethkar's reptilian face appeared on another channel. The Scaled Dominion offers our full support. The children have documentation of crimes against our people as well. One by one, representatives from across the galaxy spoke up. The Zephyrians had been kidnapping and experimenting on sentient beings from dozens of species. The human children had uncovered evidence of torture, illegal medical procedures, and violations of every galactic law regarding the treatment of prisoners. General Krondar, watching from the Zephyrian High Command, finally understood the full scope of what his empire had done. They hadn't just attacked humanity. They had made themselves enemies of half the galaxy. High Command to Research Station, he transmitted with defeat in his voice. Surrender immediately. All research programs are terminated. All prisoners are to be released. But there was one more surprise waiting. Actually, sir, came Alex Carter's voice over the communication channel. The prisoners have already been released. We took care of that ourselves. On the bridge of the stolen scout ship, now safely docked with Admiral Morrison's flagship, the 17 human children were being reunited with their families via video calls. Parents cried with relief. Siblings cheered. Grandparents hugged their screens. But the children themselves seemed more interested in making sure their fellow former prisoners were being taken care of. The plant beings need special atmosphere, Maya Rodriguez told the medical team, and the crystal creatures communicate through light patterns, not sound. The furry ones are from a high-gravity world, added Emma Park. They're probably feeling sick in our normal gravity. Admiral Morrison watched in amazement as the human children continued to look after beings from species they had never met before a few days ago. Even after everything they had been through, their first thought was helping others. Admiral, Sam, Chen said, walking up to her with his cobbled-together device. You need to see this data. The Zephyrians weren't just doing random experiments. They were trying to create some kind of super soldier by combining traits from different species. Morrison took the device and plugged it into her ship's computer. The information that appeared on screen made her stomach turn. The Zephyrians had been torturing prisoners for years, trying to steal the best qualities from each species to enhance their own warriors. They wanted to make their soldiers as strong as the rock people, as smart as the machine people, and as tough as... Sam paused and looked at Morrison with a small smile. As tough as humans. They were trying to copy us? Morrison asked. Yes, Ma'am, according to their files, they think humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when we're protecting something we care about. They wanted to figure out how to make their own soldiers fight like humans. Morrison looked around at the 17 children who had just proved exactly why humans had that reputation. They had been kidnapped by a superior alien force imprisoned in an escape-proof facility and faced with technology they had never seen before. And they had not only escaped, but had turned the tables completely on their captors. "Well," Morrison said finally, "I guess they learned more about humans than they bargained for." 3 hours later, the Zephyrian research station was under complete Galactic Council control. The liberated prisoners were being taken to medical facilities throughout the galaxy. The evidence of Zephyrian crimes was being distributed to every species in the cooperative, and the 17 human children were finally going home. As their transport ship prepared to jump to hyperspace, Alex Carter looked out the window at the fleet of ships from dozens of different species. All of them had come to witness what would happen when someone threatened human children. "Think this will stop other aliens from trying to hurt people?" Maya asked, joining him at the window. "Maybe," Alex replied. "But if they don't learn from this, they'll learn from what comes next." "What comes next?" Alex smiled. "We grow up." The message spread throughout the galaxy faster than their ships could travel. The story was told on every world, in every language. To every species, human children had been kidnapped by the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Those same children had not only escaped but had rescued dozens of other prisoners, shut down an entire research station, and provided evidence that brought down one of the galaxy's most feared military powers. The warning was clear and simple. Don't threaten human children. Ever. But there was another message in the story, one that gave hope to oppressed beings throughout the galaxy. If human children could stand up to the Zephyrian Empire and win, then maybe no tyrant was too powerful to defeat. Years later, when Alex Carter became a starship captain, when Maya Rodriguez became a renowned engineer, when Sam Chen became the galaxy's leading expert on alien computer systems, they would all remember the day they learned that being human meant never abandoning those who needed help. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 different languages, parents would tell their children the story of the 17 human younglings who proved that courage and kindness could defeat any enemy. The Zephyrian Empire never recovered from the scandal. Their research programs were banned, their military was reduced, and their reputation was destroyed. General Krondar spent the rest of his life trying to rebuild his people's standing in the galactic community. But whenever someone asked him what had happened, he would always give the same answer. "We made the mistake of thinking human children were helpless. We learned that human children are just small humans, and humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when you threaten what they protect." The children had come home, and the galaxy would never be the same.